Wheel.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Did you guys catch the Masters today?
I was working in an RV.
Working in an RV.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
I
has
guess I
time to
can't.
watch TV?
Yeah. Well, carrying around a baby, like it's about all you can do sometimes. But it was pretty awesome. Rory finally got his career Grand Slam. Took it to a playoff with Justin Rose, and it was good. He had an up and down day, but it was really awesome.
I know my old man was watching it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's old man was watching it,
Yeah.
sipping an Arnold Palmer. Yeah, cool. Well, I'll kick us off, but it looks like for those of you watching, recognize we've got a new face on the pod. So I brought in a special guest for everyone today, Luke Mostellar, local racer kind of here in the Southeast, but making a big splash on the national scene, especially in the gravel space. I'll let him talk about a little bit of that, but went toe to toe with some of the lifetime Grand Prix athletes and put a couple of them in the hurt locker and had a pretty good result at BWR Arizona this year. But yeah, Luke races for Bear National team. So I think a team primarily focused, and Luke will tell us more on XCO racing, but transitioned a little bit towards focusing on the gravel space. And I know Luke was dead set on trying to grab one of those lottery or wild card spots for the Grand Prix in the U23 division, but for whatever reason, broke his finger and unfortunately had to miss the otter. But yeah, we got Luke on today. Just kind of talk a little bit about what's it like to be an aspiring, pro off-road athlete here in the States, and maybe shed some light on what that really takes and what that life looks like. So appreciate you coming on, Luke.
For sure. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and putting up with us. We're a pretty rough crowd, so.
Anytime.
Yeah, man. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like you're how old? You're not 20 yet, right?
18 years old right now. But I turned 19 this month. So yeah.
Very nice.
I've been racing for 10 years now. Around 10. All mountain biking stuff. I just got into riding just one summer. My neighbor, he actually did triathlons, and we would ride bikes from each other's house, like to and from. And that's how I really started that passion, just starting to really enjoy the bike, build jumps. Me, my brother, and my neighbor, we used to like hold little races just like around the house and just race them to just us three. And I've always been really competitive in sports, and I wanted to get a race. And so I started with mountain bike racing, and I focused on mountain bike racing all the way up until this year. This year is the first time I really focused on anything other than the mountain bike. So it's really fun. It's an interesting year.
Yeah. How's that transition been going? I mean, XCO race, going to gravel, you're racing for 6, 7, maybe 8 hours, on a bad day. So how's that transition been for you?
Yeah. It can go, it's really not too bad, but then sometimes it can get really bad.
Yeah.
So like last year, doing only XCO stuff, that's only an hour and a half long. Then I did a few gravel races at the end of the year. And once you're out there for like 5 hours, you absolutely die. If you don't like pace it right and like eat right. And so I would just absolutely bonk the last hour, and it's really gnarly, but it's like a fun gnarly. And it really gave me the bug last year to transition to gravel. I've always been fond of the longer stuff and like longer rides, just spending as much time on my bike really. And so the transition really felt kind of natural to me, because I already like the longer rides, like spending a ton of time in zone 2. I like the long efforts of just, being on the pedals and grinding hard, but you're not like all out sprinting. You're just like smashing for hours on end. That's like my favorite type of effort. So it kind of felt natural, to be honest, to switch this way.
Yeah.
And yeah, with the racing and stuff, honestly, that's the biggest shock is just, lining up to like Keegan Swenson and Russell Fensterwald, all these guys that like I would watch racing and see on the internet. Then all of a sudden, I'm racing them.
Bumping elbows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good transition. Then you've got to tell us, walk us through that BWR race. So for those that don't know, BWR, Belgian Waffle Ride, Arizona, kind of one of the first kickoff serious gravel races of the season, and kind of a test of fitness, people to come out of their winter camps to show what they've got. And Luke found himself at the pointy end and finished there. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So really going into BWR, I've really locked in heavy this winter on training and just really giving my best effort for this upcoming season. And so going into BWR Arizona, I had really good fitness, honestly better fitness than I expected. And so, I knew I could get a good result there. And so I just wanted to go and see what I'm capable of, because to be honest, I had no expectations. Whenever, aging out of juniors and then lining up to guys that are, around 10 years older than me, I have no idea how I'm going to stack up. So I just focused on my race. And I don't know if you looked at the course of BWR or saw how it played out, but we hit the neutral rollout and we immediately start on I think it was a 2,500 foot climb. It was a long one.
Yeah.
It was like a 50-ish minute climb. So obviously, like Keegan Swenson in the group, it was not easy at all.
Yeah.
It was just all out, just trying to make that lead group. And I had really good legs, and I was with the lead group up into the gravel. And like the last 5 minutes of gravel is just, I think they really upped it there. It was brutal. And I was just short of making that lead group. And after that, it's pretty much a 4-hour TT, to be honest. Because the groups are in such shambles after that first climb that there's not a group that's really bigger than 5 people. So it's just all out to the finish from there.
So when you're trying to get yourself up in that lead group, do you think you just finding a good position, knowing where to be? You think that's kind of something how do you feel about that? I mean,
yeah,
that seems like that's always the tough thing, who to follow, because you get behind a wheel and then all of a sudden they kind of slow down. You're like, wait, I should be in front of them. And you jump around 100%. And you're like, yeah. So how's that working out?
Yeah. You kind of figure out which wheels to stay on. And I mean, honestly, everybody's fighting to get on Keegan's wheel. Nobody wants to be in front of Keegan. No. Yeah. And they all just want to be right on his wheel. Yeah. So it's kind of a fight to stay on his wheel. And as well as other riders like that too, just being in kind of noting where the strong riders are that do have those watts to just ride off the front, really. And just kind of marking them and being like, all right, I need to be right next to them or on their wheel. And then honestly, just staying on it for so long. I think whenever I got dropped from the lead group, I think it was just due to power. I mean, that effort was a really gnarly one. I'll tell you all the watts if y'all want.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, come on, I need to know.
So it was 40 minutes. Really, so we hit a small downhill. So after the neutral rollout, it was pretty chill. Then we hit a small descent, and then we climbed pretty much just straight up for 25 minutes. And for that 25 minutes, I averaged 400 watts.
Oh my gosh.
How steep?
Yeah, it was all out.
How steep was it?
The road
was a pretty gnarly climb.
Yeah. It would pitch up to 8%, 6 to 8% on the road. Then it would gradual out to 2 to 3% for it was a minute 8 to 6, then another minute at 2 to 3% grade. And you would kind of just repeat that for 15 minutes for the road section. So we were hauling on it. So drafting really played a big factor on the climb still. So, you know, being with the big dogs in a fast group was really important there as well. Then once we hit the gravel, it was very steep pitches, definitely close to 20%.
Oh, nice.
It was very steep.
What
with
and
a few descents, like just short, flat sections.
yeah, that race demands a lot, right, from the bike. I know I've seen your bike, but like, tell the people what's the setup look like
what's
this
the
year?
ride?
Yeah, so I have a Trek Checkmate with the Red Explorer Axis group set. It's really nice.
Nice. And how wide of tires have you shoved in there? I didn't believe it when I saw it.
Yeah, so for BWR Arizona, I had a 2.1 Thunderbird up front and a 50 mil Schwalbe Overland, G1 Overland in the rear.
Yeah, so the claim, what's the claim clearance on the Checkmate? Like 42, right?
Yeah, it's 45.
45, okay.
Yeah, there's guys fitting 2.1 mountain bike tires in their rear.
Yeah.
It depends on like how ballsy you are with like rubbing and just in general of that.
And mud, but Arizona, no mud, I guess. I know.
Yeah, and I think if you know there's not going to be any mud, you can actually, if it's going to be a dry course, which it was that when you guys were racing, you're good. So let me ask you this. I've watched a lot of videos where Keegan, you know, is in the front. Do you think that, you know, having raced with him, do you think that when guys let him set the tempo, that actually plays in his favor? Because I feel like if people start taking jabs at him, do you think like they could, you know, crack him? But I feel like everybody just waits for Keegan to attack and then they try to follow. Like, so there's guys that are able to go with him. And I'm like, okay, so if you're able to go with him, I'm sure then you can counterattack. What's your thought process on that?
Yeah. Keegan is ridiculously strong. So, and he's there to win every race. It doesn't matter what race it is. He wants to win it. Right. So most guys just want to sit on his wheel and see if he has a bad day because that's their best chances. Because if they try to attack him, it doesn't matter what move it is. Like if Keegan sees any threat up the road, he's gonna attack. It's trying not to poke the bear for as long as possible and hope you have a better match than he does at the end of a race. Because if you try to attack Keegan, then not only you're going to be screwed, everybody's going to be screwed.
Yeah.
And that race,
you don't want to be that guy.
From a potential, like, you know, group finish will be just shattered.
Yeah.
So what do you think? So what's your mindset going into Unbound? I'm assuming you probably be race ready for Unbound.
Yeah. So I'm actually switching my schedule up a bit. I'm not 100% if I'll be at Unbound yet because of my finger. I actually have a lot to contemplate on because it did change a bunch, missing Sea Otter because the wild card did depend on Sea Otter, and as well as like the U23 Grand Prix. They only it's like an overall series, right? And you only need 4 races to qualify for the overall. And I'm not 100% sure if Unbound's going to be one of those races yet.
Does the wild card? So you're in the U23. That doesn't count towards a wild card, right? Is that a different setup or is it part of the same program?
Yes, it's a different one.
Okay,
it doesn't count towards, but you can be in both.
Okay, and you still get drop races. So since you are not able to race Sea Otter, it's like it could be a drop race.
Yes. Yes. With the U23 Grand Prix, we get one more drop race than the regular lifetime Grand Prix.
All right. So you're still in the game. You're still in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Leadville, I assume, is with your XCO background. Leadville's probably on the calendar.
Yes. I don't know if we talked much about road. I do a bit of road on the side. So if any opportunities on the road conflict with it, it could change my schedule a bit, but yeah, Leadville is definitely one I'm looking at.
Cool. So you
And
definitely balance your time between road and off road. I didn't realize that. So like a
yes.
road, are we crit racing primarily? Not a huge road race, stage racing out here unless you're going out west.
Yeah. I'm actually not a crit boy at all.
No?
I don't do really good at crits. I'm not a sprinter.
Yeah.
I just do like I prefer the traditional road race. Just like 60 to 80ish miles.
Okay. Nice. So then talking about these races, like if you put it up there, you started hot with the BWR Arizona result, like what are your goals? Like what looks like a successful year for you if you look back at the end of this year?
Right. It's if you asked me that last year, I could have gave you a straightforward answer, but this is a very different year for me. Being a first year U23, so you age out of juniors and you go into the U23. And so, I'm racing against guys that are 4 years older than me. So results go down a bit, just because you're racing against, guys older than you. And, in cycling, the older you are and more training you have under your belt in miles, the faster you are. That's just how it is. So it's more of kind of a build year. See where gravel goes as well as road. Find the opportunities that let me, do this for a living. And that's like my biggest thing is really just kind of setting up the rest of my years in U23 to have a successful career in this sport. It's not a very direct answer, but yeah, it's just finding those opportunities. And then my other really main goal this year is nationals. So I've been to nationals for the past 4 years and never got a jersey, and it stings a bit because everybody wants to be a national champ. It's one of those. It's so cool to be able to in a way just wear the jersey and represent a country. So it's always on my radar. So I'm looking at road nats as well as I'll be racing marathon nats as well.
Awesome.
Those are two big goals of mine. Really want that jersey this year.
Yeah. So do you see, like, if I'm curious, with the prevalence of gravel off-road racing in the United States, and really the traditional pathway for a road career is you're eventually going to have to bite the bullet and hop the pond and go live in Europe. What appeals to you more? Because for the first time ever, it seems like you can make a career, although somewhat untraditional. And maybe you got your own YouTube channel at some point, like Aria here. But yeah, what excites you more if you see yourself 10 years from now? Is it winning the lifetime Grand Prix or whatever that is here in the States, or is it World Tour racing in Paris-Roubaix with those guys like they were doing earlier today?
Right. That's a really good question. To be honest, I can see myself in both of those categories. I can see myself as a gravel racer for the rest of my racing career, as well as going to the World Tour and hopping the pond and living in Europe. Last year, I got the experience to go race internationally last year, and I did. It was my first time going to Europe, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It was amazing. So I could totally see myself, hopping the pond and living there, and as well as racing. But then on the racing side, it is very drastic different. Because gravel, it is with World Tour racing, that is your life. All you do is ride bikes and race, which I would enjoy, but as well, it is stressful because, it is your job now. Once you do that, it is your career. And as well as how dangerous it is as well. There's, many crashes, you always think it won't happen to you, but, there's always a possibility of, being one of the few that does get hurt pretty bad and, could have a life-changing injury, and
Sure.
it's pretty prone in the World Tour, just because of the speeds that they go at. So it is kind of I don't have a direct answer right now. I'm still trying to figure it out, because I do have like that racer in me that wants to really test my luck on, the world scene and see, what, really how I stack up against the best in the world, and that, just drive to race, constantly. As well as I also have this part of me that just, absolutely loves riding bikes, just wants to do it every day and go hit super fun races and make a living at it, and be able to kind of enjoy the bike a bit more, because it is a bit more relaxed and about like kind of like the journey of racing and riding that gravel does kind of give, and allow riders with these big passions to do it for a living. So I can see myself in both shoes.
Well, this is good. Payson McKelvin, this is evidence right here that the spirit of gravel is not dead in the youth here. This guy's talking about the deep things of gravel, so we know what's out there.
So Luke, coming from the mountain biking aspect, do you do cyclocross? A lot of the bigger name racers have done the cyclocross and then transitioned over into road. What's your thoughts on cyclocross?
Yeah, kind of funny you asked me. Do not like cross. I like watching cross.
Okay.
I don't like racing cross.
Well,
I don't like to get off my bike and run.
Okay.
That's how I feel too. That's the thought of just trying to go hard for like, let's say 5 minutes, jumping off the bike, and then throwing over my shoulder, go up 10 stairs, and then go back down. I'm like, no way. All I'm thinking about is twisted ankles. That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like to stay on my bike in a bike race.
So were you in the NICA program?
Yes, I was. Georgia NICA. I started 6th grade year. Then I stopped sophomore year.
So, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. Why'd you stop? Just to change?
Yeah. So I won varsity my sophomore year, and that was kind of like I would have to drive quite a bit to the races, because I'm North Georgia, and all the races are like mid to South Georgia ish. So I'd have to drive far away. And so whenever I won varsity, I was just kind of like, I really enjoyed NICA, and it was such a big boost in my racing career, as well as just such a good time, that I was like, I'll, kind of pass the gauntlet down.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I still there's a race 45 minutes. So they have the last race of the year 45 minutes away from me. I'll go there and hang out. But yeah.
NICA is a good program.
Oh yeah.
I had a friend that was a coach, and I went to a couple of his races, and just to watch him, his team. He was up in Virginia, Charlottesville, and man.
Yeah, NICA is amazing. There's a lot of riders that I've met that got into the sport through NICA. I mean, it's countless people that they got into the sport through NICA, which is so cool.
Yeah. So what's your training and nutrition look like then?
Yeah. So training wise, I usually do around 20 hours a week or so. It kind of varies depending on when the next race is, as well as how the body feels. But trying to like kind of maximize the volume without carrying too much fatigue. And for me right now, it's 20-ish hours, with 80% of those 20 hours being zone 2 and 20% being intervals. And usually the intervals that I do suit the race the race that's coming up, or like one of my main race goals.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to share this, that's fine. What does your
That's
zone
fine.
2 heart rate or power numbers look like?
Yeah. So my zone 2 is 260 to 260 to 286.
Oh, I could do that back in 87,
Yeah.
before we had power meters. Wow. That's pretty intense, man. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's super cool. So are you, I guess, does Bear provide you with the coaching staff and nutrition support and things like that? Or are you kind of structuring your own training?
Yeah, so I have a coach. Bear doesn't have like one specific coach that's like he's the Bear coach and coaches all the Bear kids. We have
The Bear kids.
Bear,
I like that. Bear
I do like
Cubs.
that name.
Bear Cubs.
Bear
Come on,
Cubs,
you guys
I
are the
like
Bear
that, I like
Cubs.
that.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, they have like just some coaches that are affiliated with Bear that kind of get recommended, and that's how I found my coach. I guess 2.5 years ago or so, I started training with him, Chris Burnham, and from there, I really enjoyed it. We've grown a lot. He's a really good coach. We built our relationship good. He's very scientific and data, which I really like because I'm kind of that way too, but I'm also like an overthinker. So there's no way I could coach myself and like write my own training plans.
Sure.
I like to have it like written.
Was he your first coach? Have you had coaches before?
Yes, he was my second coach. So my first coach, I'll give him a shout out, Doug Sharp. He started coaching me 2020, I think. It was my freshman year of high school, I guess. So that was 4.5 years ago or so. He started coaching me. And he was a big part of my development in racing too. He coached me for about 2 years or so, and really taught me the ins and outs of training, kind of what it takes, as well as like on the race side. Yeah.
So I kind of want to rewind back on the BW Arizona in that fast 50-minute climb. Based on nutrition, so what do you? Obviously that's almost an hour, right? Of like effort. Are you eating during that time, and what does your nutrition plan look like overall? Also, like what kind of a two question,
For sure. So y'all probably heard about like all this high carb stuff. So I do 90 to 120 grams of carbs an hour. I don't really believe once you go over 120, your body can truly consume those carbs, because whenever your body can't consume the amount of carbs that you intake, it actually spends energy to digest those carbs. So you don't want to be like, getting 200 carbs an hour, because then you're kind of wasting it. So I do those for racing and intervals. I do 90 to 120 grams of carbs an hour through gels and drink mix, usually. And then for zone 2, I do around 40 to 50 grams of carbs an hour. And the reason it's very different, and a lot of people don't, everybody's talking about all this high carb stuff, and some people still do like 120 grams of carbs in zone 2. But the thing is about zone 2 is you're not burning those carbs. You're burning fat. You're still tapping into your glycogen stores, but you're not tapping into them as much. It's around 40 to 50 grams of carbs that you're burning an hour in your glycogen stores, and the rest is fat. So if you eat more than that, all you're doing is just consuming carbs and getting nothing out of them.
Interesting. Dylan Johnson would not agree with you on that, but we'll take it to him, call him out. But that's interesting.
Are you doing a lot of strength training in the season, or is that just an off-season thing?
It's mainly been an off-season thing for me. until really this year. We hit the gym pretty hard this winter. Then after around March, I'd say. So for like me, it was going into BWR Arizona. I switched to maintenance workouts, which is pretty much the same thing as like regular strength training, just super lightweight. Just because you don't want to be breaking down those muscles as much. You want to just be, touching on them and keeping that muscle mass.
So I want to run back right quick back to the nutrition piece. So do you do mainly like bottles and gels then? Do you eat any solids? How does that work?
Yeah.
Just ask my friend.
I prefer gels. I've always preferred gels. I eat a lot of gels. I kind of steer clear from the drink mix more, to be honest. Other than like for racing and training, I drink mix. But in racing, I like to see and feel the carbs I eat in a way, so I know I'm on track. So you're not just like drinking and you're like, oh, I don't know how many carbs I just intake. You just take the gel and it's like, all right, I just ate 40 grams of carbs. And then like, you note the time and then the next time you got to eat. I prefer it like that. But then also obviously like with gravel, you can't always just be eating gels. And that's where the drink mix comes into play. So I'll sometimes put drink mix into a bottle for BWR Arizona, there's tons of single track, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be like digging in your pocket.
That's my problem. I can't get the wrappers open fast enough.
Exactly. It takes time and it's just not fun. So that's where like the drink mix comes into play. It's just so much easier to get those carbs, like especially on the single track. So like I'll have like drink mix in my bottles for the sections that I can't eat gels in.
When you're redlining for 90% of the ride, you just can't eat or drink anything, which is what I do. I just don't eat.
Well, if your zone 2 is at 280, then it may not be that big of a deal for you, but you'll get there, Jason. Don't worry. Yeah, no doubt.
Zone 12.
Jason, you don't even eat anything.
No, I don't eat or drink anything, and then my legs fall off, and I fall over and cramp, and
Right? Have you? Because you never used to really do much nutrition, really. What are you doing for nutrition nowadays, Jason?
Oh, I do nutrition, but mountain biking is tough, right? I mean, mountain biking is tough to get nutrition in.
Yeah.
Gravel riding is easier. I just never think of it. But I do honey and syrup is what I like to.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's sugar right there.
What Luke? What brand do you like the most for your on bike nutrition?
Yeah. What's your flavor of gel?
Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor?
Goo's my go-to. So they have Roctane drink mix, which is my favorite drink mix. I don't know if they make other drink mix, to be honest, but it's really good. It's really high carb, super good. I like the grape flavor. Then for gels, I do their liquid ones. I prefer the liquid ones, easier to digest. But
that's like the isotonic ones, like kind of like more jello consistency than like ice cream, not ice cream, like cake syrup or whatever.
Yeah. And for those, I prefer the orange flavor. Something about like having like an orange taste in your mouth, like while you ride, just like
it's refreshing, right?
I like the
it's refreshing.
Have you done any of the salty stuff?
Yes. Like I have Element Tea is my electrolyte. Sorry, Goo. But that's my go-to. It's pretty, like one packet is like 1,000 milligrams of sodium, so it lasts for a good bit, and it's got like a distinct kind of taste to it. It's kind of really salty. It kind of gives you like the like the ooh.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but like knocks you.
It gets you. It gets you.
I like that because like while I'm racing or like in intervals or something, I'm boxed. I want the wake up.
Yeah. I like there's like the chili or hot or mango chili or whatever. Have you tried that flavor? That's my go-to flavor.
Oh, I gotta try that.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah.
What about like caffeine?
I love caffeine.
do you take a break from it? Like, or like do you like get off of it and go clean for a while and then like just go crazy on race day?
I don't really. I have a pretty solid caffeine intake. I drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning every day. I know some people that do like the caffeine break in between races and stuff, but it really doesn't matter because as well as like caffeine is like one of those things that you do have to train a bit with your stomach because, if you're on race day and you take a ton of caffeine and you haven't had caffeine in 2 months, you give you the runs,
Yeah.
and you don't want that. So I consistently take caffeine.
Nice.
During interval, I only take caffeine during intervals or races.
So you're really polar. I mean,
my highest caffeine intake I think I've ever done.
What was that? Say it again.
BWR was like my highest caffeine intake I've ever done in a race.
Were you able to sleep that night, or were you just wired?
My resting heart rate was kind of high. It was worth it.
How do you get the caffeine? Is it just like are you on a tab? What are you doing?
I'm doing gels.
Okay, so the gels have caffeine in them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to be careful with those. If you don't pay attention, you end up slamming like 6 gels that have 25 milligrams of caffeine in there. You're just bouncing off the walls.
Yeah. No, I made the mistake of that actually. Like at BWR, like all the nutrition I brought, I didn't check all of it, and so I accidentally brought only caffeine gels. And so I was lining, it was like the night before the race, and I'm like lining out all my nutrition stuff, lining out all my gels, and it's like caffeine gel, caffeine gel, caffeine gel, caffeine gel. And the director of the gravel team, Alec, he was like, really abusing that caffeine there. I'm like, dude, caffeine's a legal performance enhancer. You got to. And he's like, you might OD though.
You might OD, right.
Caffeinated, right? And I'm like, no.
I'm good. Well, it played out pretty well, it seems like.
Awesome. I swapped a lot of gels to regular ones.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But yeah.
What's your so you're in Georgia. What part of Georgia? Are you in Tunnel Hill, Georgia, or where are you at?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Georgia. So what is I guess a lot of people that might be listening to this podcast are from a flatter, drier, more corn infested place. So tell them about maybe what's your favorite training ride around where you live.
Yeah. My favorite, I probably have 2 favorites. So for sure, this area that I live in, just North Georgia, and it to Tennessee and like Alabama, it's so slept on for the riding.
So true.
These roads, like my home roads that I ride on daily, are like some of the best roads I've ever ridden in my life. Every single time, it's so good. I don't know how familiar y'all are with like kind of Villanelle-ish area. You were at Jared's place today. Yeah, I ride down there all the time. It's this one loop where I take this highway down. It's like a TT flat highway, and I climb Sugar Valley Mountain, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
And it's just like a nice kind of curvy climb, nice 10 minutes, and a sweet downhill. Then it pops you out onto Pocket Road. And you rip Pocket Road next to this creek, and you're just like swerving with the creek for a good bit. And such prestigious roads, so pristine. You like rip a ton of countryside, and some like kind of like Euro style roads, just kind of single lane, almost just beaten a bit, and being in the countryside as well as like woods too. Like you'll just like be out in a field, you can see like barns, cows, everything. Then the next mile, you're in the woods and all you see is trees. Like it's so cool.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I tell people all the time, like East Tennessee, North Georgia, North Alabama, like you're so right. The road riding down here is spectacular.
So
Like,
that like south of Chattanooga? Is that right?
yeah,
Yes.
south
Okay.
of Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the elevations like on your rides?
So from my house, usually it's like I get it like around 1,000 feet of elevation per hour. It's kind of like mountains and
Pretty decent.
valleys.
Yeah.
But like the valleys are still rolling. They're like, 1 minute climb, 1 minute downhill almost. Like
Oh,
enough
yeah.
of a climb that's kind of a
It
climb,
hurts.
like enough
Yeah.
of a downhill that's like you pick up speed. So it's kind of like right there in the perfect. Then we also have like the mountains that you can like kind of traverse into other valleys, and they're all like kind of the same, really. Just 10-minute steep climb, then like a nice steep downhill,
Yeah.
which is super fun because it's just enough of it's like the perfect amount of a climb and perfect amount of a descent for training.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff with you, but this is, have you ridden in Iowa? This is what we got. See right there,
Oh, sweet.
wind. So you gotta train for the wind. Like it's crazy, you know. Like
Oh, yeah.
yesterday, here, have you ridden in the Midwest at all?
I have.
Yeah, whereabouts?
I've been to Kansas.
Oh, there you go. Might as well have been to Iowa.
It's all the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think one of the things that most people underestimate, maybe on the East Coast not as much, when people come from like Colorado and stuff like that, where you have the long passes, climbs and stuff, you get to the Midwest, and for example, gravel world in Nebraska, people are like, well, it's the Midwest. How hilly could it be? And then you have 150 miles of close to 12,000 feet of climbing, and the humidity. So people are always kind of, if you're coming from Colorado, you're not used to that level of humidity, and it just kind of beats you up,
Yeah. Last year, I went to Gravel Nats in Nebraska, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the riding.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be dead flat, and I got dropped on a climb. So,
You're like, they have to climb here in Nebraska, right?
yeah.
I'm in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, and when I moved to Iowa City, all my friends are like, "Yeah, you're a flatlander now. It's all flat out there." And I had a couple of them come visit me, and they were like, "It's not flat here. It's rolly,
Yeah.
But then I went to North Carolina, near Greenville, North Carolina, and that's flat. There's, you do 60 miles and barely get 1,000 feet of elevation.
Those rides are nice sometimes, though. You just get with a good group and just fly around. It's like, I don't know, Luke, have you ever done that? Do you ever do like the Southern Velo, like milkshake ride or anything like that up in like Cohutta? Have you done that ride?
I actually haven't, but I've heard about it.
You got to go. You got to go out and do that ride and drop the hammer on those guys.
Luke, you do rides just for shits and giggles, flying around and just goofing off.
Yeah. Sitting at 280 watts, zone 2, having a conversation with everyone.
Hammer down.
Yeah.
Let's put somebody in the paint tank.
Yeah.
Luke, what's the best ride you've ever been on, race or without a race? Just
good question.
What's the best ride you've ever been on? Yeah.
I would probably say there is this gnarly ride. So last year, I went to Telluride for elevation training for world champs, mountain bike world champs last year. And Telluride, I don't know if you guys have seen anything about their gravel. Their gravel is gnarly. Gnarly. Like, we're on full mountain bikes, XC mountain bikes. And, some of the gravel climbs, I was having to walk.
Wow.
We did this one ride. It was, I can't remember exactly what the mountains were called, but we pop out, we started from the house and immediately get onto the first pass, and it's a 3,400 foot climb. And it's not chill. it's because like you're already high up in elevation. Like we're hitting going up to 13,000 feet. Like you can barely breathe up there, and it's like some of the pitches are above, got to be close to 30% grades. It's truly gnarly. Proper long climbs. Like the first climb was an hour and a half long. Then we descend for like 45 minutes. We pop into town, refuel, and we hit this big climb. I feel so bad for all the Telluride people. There's a Telluride person listening.
Is it like, were you like on Imogen Pass? Was it like Imogen Pass or
Imogen
Pass? That's the second highest, I think, pass in the continental United States that you can drive on. You get up to like over 13,000 feet for sure.
It's gnarly.
Yeah.
So we did this one climb, and it was a 6,000-foot climb. I think it was like the first hour, and it was probably like, it was like the first hour and a half is on road, which is nice. Then you go into gravel, and it's just straight up for an hour. And that was like a 2.5 hour climb. It was.
So do you remember what the question was? It was like, what is the best ride that you've ever been on? And all I hear
that was
is
my best. That was the best.
2.5 hour climbs and 30% walking your bike. I'm missing something.
That's it.
Maybe my standards of favorite ride ever or favorite route is a little different. But that was the funnest ride. Probably like the funnest route I've been on, because like that was the biggest climb I've ever done. Me and some friends did it. It was a long day, gnarly day, good downhills. And I mean, like we were in Telluride, like it's so beautiful there. And like, passes. Like I love long climbs. Like I'm so in love with the climbs in Colorado. You can just like set a pace and just grind for an hour.
It's pretty cool.
So Telluride, I was in Gateway, Colorado, and so about 2 hours from Telluride. And that part of Colorado is still, obviously a lot of bike parkers go through there, but it's still very wild. Like their mountain biking is crazy old school. And Telluride is just like that. It's just not a whole lot of people riding that stuff. It's mainly Jeeps and side by side and stuff. So I remember being in Gateway and just kind of going to mountain bike there for a couple of days. And it was gnarly. It's like the roads were just like that,
Yeah, it's truly insane. And I think that's like why it was one of my favorites, is because like, not like bragging or anything, but I don't get off my bike and walk a lot.
Yeah.
And so like, be humbled that hard. Like
you're human after all.
My bike for like periods of times, and I was just like, this is truly gnarly.
It's crazy when you get up that high and you have to catch your breath after you take a drink.
Triggered.
Yeah.
I just took a drink.
When I was down in that part of Colorado, it was the three guys I was riding with all had e-bikes. I was the only one on the muscle bike, And after the second day, I was like, guys, I am gonna go stay at the campground and I'm just gonna put my feet up because I cannot do this anymore.
Toss your
like
toe
you say, you get off the main road and you climb like immediately. And I'm not a climber kind of guy. So I was like, after 2 days, I'm like, I think it's vacation time. I'm just gonna sit back here with my thoughts because there was no cell phone signal, there was no internet, so you just sat there and just stared into the night sky. So
that's awesome.
Uphill for 2 or 3 hours and downhill for like 20 minutes.
I know, that's the thing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, some of those downhills are so gnarly that you can smoke your brakes, right?
Oh yeah. I probably went through like just a pair of brake pads that 2 weeks. I mean,
what's your mountain bike? What do you ride mountain bike?
It's a Trek Super Caliber. Yeah, Gen 2.
Gen 2.
Do you have a like a big suspension bike at all? Or you just...
I don't. I've always wanted one, but just never bought one.
Never have. Are you gonna upgrade to the Gen 3? Bikes. Have you ridden the Gen 3 Super Cal?
Is the Gen 3 Super Cal?
Oh no, Gen 3. Sorry, Gen 2. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, Gen 2 is the one. Yeah. My mistake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the shop I'm working at now is they're all in big travel suspension stuff, mountain bikes. They're all about enduro and dropping in on things. So
Yeah.
my mechanic buddy just put these Manitou inverted forks on his steel hardtail, and he's like, "Yeah, it's gonna be 180 in the front and 170 in the back." And I'm like, "Oh,
That's squishy.
That's
yeah."
gnarly. Yeah, I've ridden big bikes like that, like proper enduro bikes, downhill bikes a little bit, very little bit, and also trail bikes. And my favorite is always the XC bike. I like to feel the trail. Like you can go faster with those big bikes, which is all like it's a different type of fun. Like ripping, super fast because of the bike is super fun. But I do prefer the XC style. And to be honest, I love hardtails. Like,
how do you feel
Yeah.
about dropper post?
say again?
How do you feel about a dropper post?
You're
I
fishing,
love
Jason. You're fishing, Jason. Jason's not a convert yet to the dropper post. That's
Yeah,
if it gives
I
you some
love dropper
context.
post. I mean, yeah, it makes you so much faster on the downhill. It's more fun. I mean, like the Fox Transfer SL is so light, and like what it's probably going to be. It's like 200 grams heavier than a regular, traditional seat post, and so it's just like it's worth it. It's so much more fun. You go faster. It's really no weight penalty. So yeah, I love dropper post.
Do you like that Fox Transfer? That dropper, it's so like it's on or off. I feel like I can't work my way around it when I've ridden it.
I love it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's quirky though. It's so quirky.
Yeah, well, like in racing and stuff, you don't want the middle ground. You want down or up, down or up. You don't want no middle ground. So, and especially with how fast it is, like it's just so responsive. You're not questioning where your dropper might like end up, or if you held your lever long enough.
Sure.
It's up or down, and
that makes sense.
Ridiculously light.
Yeah. Do you see much of like on the racing? Do you see many people using like the revert dropper, or do you think they like what you said, the speed of like the Fox?
Yeah, a lot of people do still ride the reverb dropper. A lot of them are also sponsored by SRAM.
Helps.
But yeah, it's a good dropper. Personally, I wouldn't really run it.
Yeah.
It's not the fastest, race dropper, but it definitely has its own category for a dropper. But I'd rather save the weight than not have a cable. So
see, I save the weight by not having a dropper.
but the Axis droppers are like really heavy compared to
they are.
Like, my new
dropper.
bike, if I ever get it's gonna have a dropper, and I'm gonna actually play with it a little bit. But
are you going hard post right now?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't. Yeah.
Ooh.
My top fuel. I got a top fuel, 2020 top fuel, and I took the dropper off of it and put a whiskey on it immediately. Yeah.
Have you rode a dropper though?
I rode that one that came on that bike for about 2 days. I was like, I don't do it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard of people like say that before.
So,
but I've never like understood like a high post.
I'm with you. I don't get it. I
started mountain bike racing in 99, 98, and we had 26-inch cantilever brakes and no suspension. So
yeah,
that's how I started racing.
Come a long way. And what is your new bike again? I forget. It's a Santa Cruz.
If it ever gets here, Santa Cruz Blur. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask. I'm like, where's that bike?
It's still not here. I don't know.
Yeah. Luke, do you have what's it called, flight attendant on your Super Cow?
I don't.
What are your thoughts?
I have full not RockShox. I have full Fox right now.
Yeah.
I have a Fox 32 step cast fork.
Okay,
Then it's the ISO strut.
Yeah.
nice. That's a beautiful bike, man. I think it looks like a freaking rocket ship.
It is. It's super fast.
What's
Like, what
your
kind do you have?
everybody's asking about crank lengths these days.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. Let's hear.
How tall are you, and what's
Oh yeah, that's actually a great question. How tall are you, Luke?
I'm around 6'3". I don't know, to be honest.
He's taller than that.
Well, I just say 6'3" now.
Yeah.
But crank length, you know, this is my first year running not 175. On the Trek Checkmate, I have 172.5, which is not a big difference, but very, very, very noticeable. Because I have long legs, I can't just drop to 165 because those are going to be for sure too short of cranks for me. The 172.5 does feel drastically different and feels way better on your knees, as well as just like position on the bike. You feel more efficient. You're able to hold a higher cadence, which is going to allow the drivetrain be more efficient, as well as flush more lactic acid, and not like you're not like torquing on your legs as much, right? So I see benefits in it. Now the people that like are going ridiculously low, like I think Jonas Vindegaard's running 155.
155s. Yeah.
He's like 5 foot what? Nothing. I mean, he's
even still though 155s though, like they just look funny on a bike.
Yeah,
it doesn't look normal.
Penny farthing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm about your height, and I've on my single speed mountain bike, I've got 170s that I like on that because it's single speed hardtail. But yeah, I like the 172 and a halves.
Yeah, that's sweet.
I think that's
I think like the rule is
go to 170, but
yeah, I think the rule is like 20% of your leg length or something like that.
Yeah.
And so but
I've been happy with my 165.
Like 160.
Yeah, 165 has been good. Like I noticed too, like when I'm climbing, I kind of like high cadence kind of guy, and I found that I don't feel like as much stress on my muscles at a high cadence with the shorter cranks versus when I still rode the 175s. It just feels. I just feel like I can get to the top and like my legs are not burning. I can just change the gear and keep rolling. So I think it's been a big deal for sure.
Yeah, and I'm kind of similar to that. I used to be a very low cadence kind of guy. Just grinding the biggest gear I can, just barely moving my legs. And so I've kind of like transferred from that to being able to, hold higher RPMs with good power for longer. And getting used to like the transition from like lower RPMs to higher RPMs, all that.
Curious, what kind of head unit do you use for your team?
Head unit?
Yeah.
I use a Wahoo right now. We don't have a sponsor from either Garmin or Wahoo. It's up to us, and I use Wahoo. I've been using Wahoo. I've only used a Wahoo. I've never switched to Garmin or anything else, to be honest. Yeah.
Are you gonna go with the Wahoo Ace? Really get that big tablet out there on front.
Yeah, no.
All right, as a racer, when they announced that, drop that as a racer, who cares about weight, aerodynamics? What was your thought when they dropped that Nokia or BlackBerry, whatever it is?
I mean, it would be nice, like if I was gonna go bike packing, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I guess it makes sense, but for me, like, I don't like a big head unit. I don't want to be like too small where I can't read it, but I want to be just big enough where it's not like covering anything and I can read the numbers.
Sure.
Because like if it gets bulky, like
it's huge. It's like that thick.
Yeah.
It's like a cheese. It's like a cheeseburger.
And I think a lot of people miss the mark. Look, you just nailed it. I think a lot of people miss the mark. I think they were kind of intentioning for like people that are doing the bike parking, or even the longer, the 350-mile kind of rides where you need battery for days, and a bigger screen where you're kind of tired and you can still look at your map clearly. And I think also, some of the older people, it gets harder and harder to look down at that little Wahoo Bolt or whatever it's called, the small thing. So I think they might have had they probably should have marketed it a little bit differently, perhaps. But yeah, I think that was the crowd is like, gonna go bike parking. That's what you need.
Yeah, it checks out. What's on your what is on your head unit? Like, what's your main data screen?
I have a lot.
Yeah.
So like my main one that I always keep on has time as like the main big one. Actually watts as the main big one.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. Watts, time, power, heart rate, average speed, elevation, and I think TSS.
Okay.
But like I usually like that's like if it's like fully zoomed out.
Yeah.
Zoom in. I just zoom in usually to like time, power, and heart rate.
So when you were racing BWR, were you like, I mean, if at a certain point, who cares what watts you're doing, right? Like you got to do what you got to do to stay with the front group. Like in a race, are you looking at it differently? Like I would imagine you might have like the navigation up so you can see the turns and things like that, like, especially for positioning and wind direction and things like that.
Yeah, I'll leave it up on the course map. And so like whenever I pull up the course map, like the GPS like map, I have my power, heart rate, and time there as well in the top. So I can look at that too. And that's what I leave it on. And those are very small. Like I make them really small. So like I can see it, but if I'm not like actually looking at it, I don't see it. You know, like you don't really like stare at it because I try not to look at my Wahoo too much.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with it, just like staring at it. So I'll try to fix that, especially in races. Like I just try not to look at it at all. And honestly, I just forget about it because it is, like you said, like you just try to stay with the lead group. Whatever you have,
just hang on tight.
Like, it'll only get in your head. Yeah.
Does the Wahoo have, I don't know, like the Hammerhead has a feature where if you're on any, like maybe your main page that has all your data fields, and then the turns coming up, the Hammerhead will automatically switch over to the maps page and give you a turn. And once you turn, then it will go back to your main page. Does the Wahoo do that?
That's a good question.
The Wahoo is like, so you have like pages, and then you have like the page button. And you just like click it, and it just like flips through the pages. You flip through them. Yeah. You can't like whenever you flip a page, you can't like go back to the page. You have to.
You gotta go
all the way through.
Well, that sucks.
Oh, I hate that, especially on the elevation profile. Like I like to when I'm doing a ride, I don't look at the route. I like to look at what the elevation profile is. Right. But if you ever need to go back to the way I have mine set up is if to get back to the navigation, I got to click it like 5 times to get it over there, which is frustrating.
That's 2005, guys. You guys got to get on the Hammerhead train.
Well, the new element might actually fix that because it is touchcolor. So like you might be able, it's touchscreen, so you might be able to swipe back and forth.
Did they do a full color touchscreen on the new Wahoos, or are they still doing their high pixel displays? Where
No. I'm pretty sure the new one, the Rome at least, maybe not the Bolt, but I'm pretty sure that the new Rome that they dropped is touchscreen and has the buttons. Which I don't like touchscreen because like if it's raining or I sweat a lot, and so like trying to work a Garmin touchscreen like when I'm on the limit and trying to navigate, like I can't stand trying to work a Garmin at that point. But
yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of disappointed that Wahoo decided to put touchscreen in there because that was part of the reason I stayed with Wahoo, was because it was, I mean, yeah, not as tech savvy, but it worked for me.
Hey, look here, Graham. They did add the bell. You know how Garmin has the bell?
The bell.
They added the bell.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in the trail and you're racing on the sidewalk, you can let the people know to get out of your way with the bell.
Luke, I need you to do some GoPro footage of your next race, and when you make a move on someone, if you like launch an attack, you gotta hit the bell as you're going around too.
Yeah.
You know, on your left, on your left, Keegan. I'm coming around. Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
There's no wind sensor in the new ROM. They didn't put a wind sensor.
I don't get the wind sensor. Like, man,
Right.
I know where the wind's coming, and if you're in a group of racers that know what they're doing, naturally the echelons form. Like, naturally everybody goes to the sheltered side. The idea of wind, like, I thought it would be a CDA monitor. A CDA monitor, that would have been cool. Like,
Yeah, I think it's supposed to help you fine tune your aeroness, I think.
I don't know.
I don't know how accurate that is, though.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's taking all the data from like the head unit. You can't really get there's no way you can get like a full grasp on the wind.
Yeah.
Once they put ChatGPT in those head units, I think it will be good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, ChatGPT will be able to get out on the internet and do some calculation, elevation, how much power you're doing. It's like it will be spot on. So, so look, how do you use the TSS? In your you mentioned earlier you had TSS as one of your data fields. How does it benefit you during a race?
Really not during a race.
Yeah.
Because I mean it's going to be ridiculous TSS for the race.
What's TSS?
Training stress score.
Okay.
So it's one of Training Peaks, this app that all the training kind of goes through. It's one of their metrics. And TSS, the only real reason I use it is for zone 2. So in zone 2, it's one of the big topics too, recently. You're supposed to go easy in it, right? You're supposed to truly stay in the zone 2. And so you want to, if I do 270 watts, which is going to create more TSS in zone 2, versus if I do 260, which is going to be less TSS, I'm creating the same amount of adaptations, but I'm carrying more fatigue, which is TSS. So you don't want to carry that extra fatigue because it's just going to linger around for interval day. You want to do zone 2 with the lowest amount of TSS, like kind of fatigue, right?
Yeah.
To be the most optimal, because you're creating the same changes no matter what power output you're doing in zone 2, as long as it's zone 2. And so that's what like that TSS is for. It's just to like kind of like check it, make sure, I'm not going too hard in zone 2, just seeing how big of a day it is.
That's interesting. I didn't really think about that. Like the idea of, you think polarized training, which is zone 2 is zone 2, but zone 2, there's the right zone 2 and the wrong zone 2, especially I guess when you're talking about 20 hours a week, I mean, you walk a fine line, I guess, of being overtrained if you're not careful, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
zone 2 adds up quite fast.
Can I ask what's your CTL number right now?
CTL.
So critical training load is another number in Training Peaks. And that's,
I'll tell you what mine is.
Yeah. Single digits.
So it was higher.
Oh, can I guess?
Like
can I guess? Can I guess? I bet you it is 117. What is it?
It's 109.
Hey,
Whoa,
pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah.
That's impressive, man.
Maria, what's yours?
Yeah,
mine
what
is
is yours?
85.
Maria? What is it?
85.
Really?
185.
No, 85.
85.
Yeah.
That's respectable.
Hey, I'm telling you, I'm now Wahoo train. Speaking of which, by the way, guys, before we get too far, I got excited here. So I don't know if guys, I told you that I couldn't sync. I have my Garmin watch connected, or Garmin Connect, whatever, connected to Wahoo system and vice versa. I can push my workouts from Wahoo to Garmin, but Garmin would not send anything back to Wahoo. Like even though it's synced, it says it supports it. So I think what I ended up doing, I tried to unpair, repair it like 7 times, and I just gave up over the course of like 3 months. So I just finally figured out that if you just go on Garmin Connect and export your feed file, just upload it in Wahoo, then you'll process it and it'll add it to you. That way you can, because I like to keep all my workouts in one place and all my rides, but it was kind of like split up. So Wahoo didn't know my outside rides and vice versa. So I finally got that working out pretty good. So super stoked.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's it? Wait, Uriah, what training system are you using? Wahoo's
System X.
So System X.
Yeah.
Is that AI, like machine learning driven, or is it?
Not really. I think they have a whole bunch of static plans they use, but they're really good plans. I feel like when I was doing Trainer Road, I feel like I used to get tired all the time.
Yeah.
And I know it had the AI stuff, but I've been happy with what Wahoo's doing. I feel like I can keep going week after week and following the plan without being like I need to take an extra day off. So fingers crossed, I'll have my fastest year ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a good base build, that's for sure.
Hey,
I won't
Graham,
tell you what my number is.
Graham,
so.
you're still training with a 5-year-old on your lap?
Yeah, that's what I do. Weight training, resistance training. I put my 30-pound
pick up the baby
little girl on the front and then climb hills over here in Chattanooga, and that is my training right now. That and a lot of like bicep curls of lifting both of the girls up. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
not a whole
That's
lot.
strength there.
It is strength, dad's strength. It doesn't do much for you on a bike though. I'm good for about an hour. Like put me in an hour showdown and I can do well. But
You could probably hang with Luke for an hour, huh?
What? What? Sorry, you broke up. You really real staticky there for a second. But
Hey, look, so Graham was telling us that he probably hang with you in your drop for about an hour.
yeah, for sure.
And we're don't even try,
Dude,
but
I'll motor pace you on my e-bike. How's that? Like that's the best about the best I can do. But man, what else we got for Luke?
yeah, no, I think we covered everything. Yeah, any closing arguments, Luke, for what your hopes are for like the next event? What are you thinking? And like where's your mind at? And
can we touch base with you later on this summer and see how things are going? Kind of keep tabs on you.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, you can hit me up anytime. Yeah, I mean, it was a good podcast and yeah, good chatting with y'all. But yeah, the race is coming up. Still kind of figuring them out a bit. The next target one is U23 Road Nats.
Where is that?
It's in Virginia, Charleston, Virginia.
West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia.
Is that? It's the
I
same.
always mix them up.
Yeah. So is it the same course as last year? Because there were some pretty gnarly climbs in that course.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Cool.
Don't quote me on it though.
When is that?
It's May, right? It's like coming up pretty
May
soon.
Whoa.
17th. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's around the corner.
I know.
Dude, that's like 3 hours for me. Not even.
I bet Luke could use some hand ups.
I can
on the
be
side
there.
of the road. A little swan. You could swan use for him.
For sure.
Hold a wheel up.
I might
Yes.
talk into going down there.
Just make sure when you take your GoPro, Jason, it's not pointing at the ground if you're recording him.
Oh. Nope. Well, I'll try.
How do
Make
we
sure it's
follow you,
full.
Luke? Like what are your socials?
Instagram and Strava, really.
Cool.
Definitely a bit more active on Strava. I just like upload rides. I
Do you have a
try to
funny
be
name,
active
or
on
is your name
Instagram,
Luke?
but
Is your name Luke Mostellar on Strava, or do you
Yes.
have like some weird name? Like,
no, it's Luke Mostellar for both.
all right,
Very generic.
fair enough.
We'll put your Strava link in the description for people that want to follow along your pod numbers.
For sure. I would
Yeah.
greatly appreciate the follow.
Absolutely. All right, gents, shall we close it out?
Yeah.
Jason, Graham, any
Yeah.
last words? Yeah?
No, Luke, thanks so much, man. It was fortunate that you came into the shop. Like, for the backstory, I saw Luke's bike getting worked on, and I'm like, okay, I don't know whose bike this is. I know who most bikes like are, but I was like, this is a real race bike. I got to meet this kid. So fortunately you walked into the shop and that was great, but thanks, man, for coming on. Wish you the best of luck this year. And like I said, like Jason said, let's try and touch base as the season progresses, as you firm up your calendar. We'll definitely keep following you and keep people looking out for you. So thanks.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me. And yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, it was great
Thanks
meeting
for
you.
coming on.
Yeah, great to meet you all.
And good luck racing. Keep pedaling.
Thank you.
Right upside down, obviously, right?
Yeah. Cool.